All right, we are on air. It is Thursday, December 20th, and this is a check-in meeting for design and usability tasks for Backdrop CMS. So really quickly, our biggest outstanding issue for backdropcms.org is the user experience for finding a new module theme or layout. This is issue number 442 in the backdropcms.org queue. I think I pointed out in the last design meeting that I have implemented the original designs as they were intended, but I'm trying to fix the search result ordering stuff on that so that we're going to be actually using core search instead of combined fields, filter, and views. And then we're going to try and get those results to come back in an order that makes more sense than they currently do. So I haven't finished that yet. I was hoping to work on that last week, but I ran out of time. So I'm going to try and get to that again this week. And since last week, I have got a couple of people who are offering to help me test it. So thanks in advance. Yes, I'll definitely need help with that. I don't think we have a beta site or a dev site for backdropcms.org up anywhere. That might be the kind of thing that would be good to test not on the live site. So I'll see what we have available in terms of getting that tested someplace safer. Okay. Moving on to Backdrop, the product itself, we're going to talk about user experience issues. The first and probably one of the oldest issues in our queue is issue number 37, and this is about, speaking of module search, the modules page in the product itself, trying to improve the user experience of that page. Issue number 37 is a subset of sort of the end goal of a bunch of various different features that a bunch of different people want. All it does is add tags. So all of the info files in core will have tags, and then it makes the modules page search box search those tags in addition to all the stuff that it currently searches. So it's a very minor improvement of that modules page. But I think it would be nice to get that done in conjunction with this issue that Doc Wilmot is working on. It's issue number 487 in the backdropcms.org queue, which would allow contributed projects to add tags in the same way. So that if you have a module that fits in multiple categories like administration and e-commerce or something like that, it'll make people find that module more easily. And this is not only going to affect the search on the modules page, is what issue 37 is for, but it could also affect the search on backdropcms.org and in the installer, which relates back to issue number 442 in the backdropcms.org queue about making that process better. So if we get all these things done at the same time, that would be fantastic. Last I checked, issue number 37, the pull request there needs an update. So maybe I'll try and do that first today before I return to issue 442 for the backdropcms.org site. Okay, next up is issue number 566 in the backdrop queue itself, backdrop issues queue. And this is about making the submit buttons for forms sticky at the bottom of the window. We're thinking this would only happen on desktop, but there is, I believe, a couple of examples there and a pull request you can play with. What we really need for that issue is feedback. So that means we want people to go and play with the sandbox, take a look at the content creation form and see if you think the positioning of the submit buttons is better than it was before. I think it's a little better, especially when you have a really, really long form, but it's a kind of a drastic, heavy-handed change. And so I would like to get as many voices in on that as possible. If you use it and you're like, I hate sticky, whatever, it would be good to hear that as well. Next issue is number 1383. This is to change the text on the submit button. So in the last version of Backdrop, we added the ability to create a draft version of content or to schedule content for later. So what we want to do is, based on the value of that option for how you want to have this content saved, we would change the text on the button. So it doesn't just say save, it would say save and schedule, or save and publish, or save and create draft. So there are a couple of options for text and language in there, which would be good to get that updated. We have another issue we talked about last design meeting, separating help text for those different status options. There's been no progress on that, but if you're passionate about that, the issue there is 3122. Updating the dependency message. It looks like we have a pull request there that needs a review. This is just to make it clear when you're updating from Drupal 7, if there's a problem, exactly what the problem is. On the installer, we wanted to make it clear that we have some modules that we are recommending more heavily than others. So we wanted to be able to take advantage of the promoted checkbox. And this is issue number 3193. It looks like we could use some feedback on how that should look as well as how it should work, I guess. I haven't looked at that recently, but it would be good to review that in conjunction with all of this other module stuff. So I'll take a look at that today as well. It looks like we just need some feedback on that. So anyone who can review that and wants to weigh in would be great. Here's a new one I don't think we talked about in the last design meeting, 3389, or maybe we did. This is so on when you go to edit your user profile or your user account on a Backdrop site, it has 2 password fields, and it requires the password if you do something like change your email address. We wanted to clean this up a little bit so that if you're changing something on that form that is not your email address, it's not going to show you the field to enter your password. So it will only prompt you to re-enter your password when you're doing something that requires a new password. So that form will be slightly less overwhelming. I don't think there's been any progress on this last week, but there's a pull request there. So anyone who can take a look at that pull request and confirm or deny its improvement would be great. Next issue is adding a dashboard to core. I would love to see this get into 112. I think currently it's just a layout, but we need some feedback on what's on it currently. And then we need to, once we get some feedback on it, we'll probably need to do a couple of iterations on that one. So because we're running out of time before January 1st, I would prioritize that. If you have things that you want to help with for 1.2, I would love to see dashboard get some momentum.
And to test that and give feedback, if I just apply the patch, will that?
There should be a sandbox there on
Right.
the pull request issue with a admin username and password. Hopefully you can log in there and see what's on the dashboard and see if you think it's enough of a good feature to go in, or if there's something that you wish was there and wasn't. We could figure out how to add that.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Views. We cleaned up the views listing page to add the machine name and to show all of available displays. Number 3395. It looks like we've got a request that needs review. I've taken a look at that a couple of times. I love it. I think it's a huge improvement, and I would love to see that get into 1.2. Admin interface consistency. So this is issue number 3402, and it came from our work on 3395 about cleaning up the views interface. We were trying to look at other places in core that had similar displays of both a human readable name and a machine name, and we realized that there's a whole bunch of different listings all over core that do it different ways. And so what we wanted to do was create a theme function that included both the human readable name and the machine name. So anytime we're doing anything, we could just call the theme function and pass in both of them, and it would display it the same way in all places. Really interesting conversation there. We got some feedback from people that on interfaces where the machine name has its own column and a big bold title at the top, it gives the impression that this interface is intended for developers or people who understand, what machine names are. It gives more importance to that. And in the interfaces where it just said name and it had a human name and then parentheses and small text said, oh, by the way, here's the machine name, it made it feel like that interface was less for developers and more human. And so originally I thought if there's room for it, just put everything in a column. But after I heard that feedback from people, I was like, oh.
We lost you.
Yeah, we lost your sound, Jen. I think you knocked your mic or something. I literally saw your hands moving around and then the sound of something getting hit and then no more. Nope.
Hello?
There you are. Hi.
There you go.
I think this external microphone had gotten plugged in somehow, but I don't know why it's not working anymore. Anyway,
Sorry. You're good.
Something rattled. This is back on internal speaker, so it won't be as good. So sorry about that, but at least you can hear me.
You sound fine.
Okay. Anyway, we were on admin interface consistency 3402. I would love some feedback on whether the decision we've landed on there is going to be a good improvement for all interfaces or not. And so there's probably, I don't know if there's a pull request there or not, but I think there's a screenshot, if nothing else. All right, moving on to issues that are specifically about the design of specific pages. Issue number 3209 about putting in a bunch of predefined color schemes for the basis theme we just need to run all of those colors through an accessibility checker to make sure that out of the box we're not creating an inaccessible color palette for someone, like there's enough contrast between the two. But the pull request itself looks pretty good. The sets of colors they're putting in are great. 3309 needs some feedback. That was a recommendation to remove tabs on the login, register, and password reset pages. There's a couple of screenshots I posted there of sites that I manage where I've removed those tabs because it feels a lot like a Drupal or Backdrop site with them there. And I kind of liked it being a little more agnostic to the way that login page works. But some people had concerns about circumstances where other modules might, for example, add a new local task to the user login page to add a new way to log in, and what would happen to those contrib projects if we removed the tabs where that was expected to appear. So I just think we need to, if we're going to do something as drastic as that in terms of changing the way the page works, we need to think that through clearly. So I'm guessing that probably won't get in for 1.2 because we need enough time to do it and then test it with contrib. And I'd be a little bit nervous about doing that now. But I would definitely love some feedback on ways that we can handle that kind of situation. Like, should we automatically throw all those links into a bulleted list on that page or something, just so that people can still navigate from one place to another? And then style it specifically. If you want it to look like tabs, you could do that too. Okay, let's see. Next up, removing, installer design on mobile. So issue 2873, we have a screenshot there of what it should look like. We just need someone to implement it. So we have design, just need to get it done. I think it's just CSS, but maybe some changes to the way that table works. Basis, design and theme the maintenance page. So we have a fantastic maintenance page in some of our other core themes, but the basis page is sort of unthemed. It would be great if we could get, at the very least, some style on it before 1.12. But in a perfect world, we would get someone with some design skill to do something really fun with that page. It's a great place where we could add a little character, show a little bit of the fun side of Backdrop. And that is it for all of the design and user experience issues we've highlighted for 1.12. But if you are specifically interested in design issues, you can always check the issue queue. There's a tag called audience design that we've got it all lumped together. And if you want to look at what's slated for 1.12, there is a milestone on GitHub as well for 1.12. So if you want to put the combination of those two things together, you can see design issues we have slated for 1.12. Obviously, not everything's going to get in for 1.12, but if we can get our TBC pull request in there in the next few weeks, there's likelihood that'll get done. Okay, we only have one other section on the agenda for today, and that is under print design. We've had sort of a long-standing request for, hey, wouldn't it be neat if we had a pop-up banner that we could use at events to put next to a Backdrop table or in a training classroom or in a summit. And we realized that would take design skills. So it's on our design wish list here. If somebody wants to work on a pop-up banner, that would be great. Obviously, it's not necessary, but it's a good place for, I think, someone who wants to contribute design to help us out in a way that doesn't involve using the issue queue. All right, that's all that's on the agenda for today. I don't know if either of you want to add anything in particular about any of those issues or any other issues. No, okay.
Just ask about if there's plans for next week's meeting schedule.
Oh.
I mean, it's after the Christmas is on Tuesday. Meetings are on Thursday. We have meetings as planned. I'm available.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at the schedule.
Yeah, I think we should. It'll be the last meeting before code freeze.
Code freeze.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on not having them.
Right. I don't think you need to not have them. I just wanted to check.
Yeah. I think the plan is to carry on with them as usual. And if we have lighter attendance, it's understandable. Like, people are going to have family and travel and whatever else involved. But I do think it would be good for us, at least, to go through that checklist and see. Usually the last meeting before code freeze, we pare down the agenda and we're like, these are the 4 things we want to get done before code freeze. And we talk about, like, what are possible blockers and how to get those done and take everything else off the agenda. And then after code freeze, put it back on and go, okay, this is the stuff that got in. This is the stuff we need clean up on or whatever. And then when we have the final release, we go back to the full agenda. So I think next week will be our first hyper-focused meeting. And so we'll do that. And if people can make the meetings, that's great. But if not, it still would be good to have that as a resource for them to review later.
Yep.
All right. Well, we have another meeting in about 20 minutes where we're just going to talk about other backdrop issues, not necessarily related to user experience and design, but things that are on the list for 112. So if you guys can come to that, that would be great. If not, other people will probably come. We'll have the same sort of meeting. But thanks, you guys, for coming today and pointing out that my microphone stopped working halfway through.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
All right, everyone, we'll see you in 20 minutes.